What's up, YouTube? This is Ron Bird Songs, Earsore Records Studio, and I wanted to just do a quick caveat to the first video that I did. And that brings me to a point. This is going to be a real quick video, but that brings me to a point. When you got a home studio, you have the flexibility to change that studio into, as your needs grow or as your needs change. You may have one artist who wants to record one way, and then you may have another artist who wants to record a whole totally different way. That's why it's always good to have options to give to your clients or your musicians, whatever the situation may be. Case in point, this is my PreSonus 2442 board. I picked this up a little while ago. This is the Firewire version, and the Firewire version still works. I only paid $5 for this. And the Firewire version of this board still works. I don't know why people are getting rid of them, because they're not using Firewire, but your Mac Mini and a lot of your computers still use the Firewire protocol. It's just not as popular as maybe your USB 3 or Thunderbolt A, B, C, D, or whatever the Thunderbolt situation is. I don't know. I can't keep up with all of that Mac stuff. But anyway, Firewire is still relevant, people. I picked this board up for $5 and it works gorgeously. Now, like I said, this is going to be a short video, so let me recap. I'm still using my SSL6, but this time, instead of how I had it with the audio interface, this time I'm running my main fader out of the 2442 right here. I'm running my main fader out of the 2442 into my SSL6. What the super analog channels. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want the processing on these channels. Now, you still got all of these stereo channels over here. That's fine and dandy. If you want to use them, they're there. In this particular situation, I don't need to use them because I just want the analog circuitry in the processing channels plus the G-bus compressor. I'm using as well in this scenario. Now, what I typically do when I'm using this particular setup, I like to ride my main up around not even at unity, just a little bit. I don't know if this is 18. Well, I guess this is -5 dBs right there. This is where this my master fader live when I'm mixing in this particular type of situation. And I control all of my volume from the SSL. I control all of my volume, my mix signal that comes out of the SSL back over here into the 2-track or the SD recorder, or the what am I saying? The SD recorder. My Tascam SD recorder is down here, and I got a TAC CD recorder over here. My clients use both of them, so make sure you have everything your clients need. Now, a lot of you guys mix outside the box and send it back into the box. That never made sense to me. I never do that. But if that works for you, each his own. So now I'm controlling the volume from. Ooh, that is smooth. If you guys haven't picked up on these SSL6, you should get one, because these are, even using them by themselves, these are some spectacular small format. Well, actually a large format mixer, because it has large format routing. But this small format mixer is spectacular, and they're on the low right now. I picked this one up for under a G. But anyway, I control all of my volume with the main that's on this board. And the headphones on this thing is super quiet. Sometimes I forget I have headphones on using these headphone amps in here. I don't know how they got those headphone amps that dang on quiet, but these headphones amps in here is super, super quiet. Even when you send the stereo cue over to your headphone amp that's in your rack, you're going to get a clean signal. Now, the only signal that I'm getting is the only noise that I'm getting is the noise coming off of the headphone amp, not coming from the SSL6. This is a super clean, super quiet board. And if you can find one, they're under $1,000 now, get it. Getting back to what I was saying. Now, I'm routing my board into the SSL6. Okay, now we got that. Now on my board, like I said, which is Firewire, and Firewire again is still relevant, but I'm actually going to hook it up to my PC later. But anyway, it's still relevant. Now, let me tell you what I'm doing over here on my Studio Live board, which is not much. Only thing I'm doing over here is using faders. I'm not using any EQ over here. Now I might use some processing on the main output going into the SSL6. But in this particular scenario, I'm not even using the FAT channel on my Studio Live board. Why? Because that brings us back to our SSL. We're doing all of the process inside of my particular DAW is Studio One. I'm doing everything inside of Studio One. Okay, and as you can see, I got the old official SSLG. This is not a knockoff. This is the SSLG, the SSL 4KG proprietary. Is that the word? Well, this is their plug-in. It's not a third party. And I have that on every channel. I got 24 channels coming out of Studio One. I can have a lot more, and then I can bust them down and still bring them out of the board. Now, let's go back over here now. So I'm doing all of my processing inside of the SSL plugin. Okay, that turns my PreSonus 2442 essentially into an SSL console. Okay, I'm not using any processing, any preamps, or any of that stuff. Only thing I'm using over here is the faders. All of the work and heavy lifting is coming out of the SSL software, which is here. Now, I mentioned in the first video the transport, and I wanted to show you how I hooked up that transport, which is pretty simple, but I couldn't figure it out until I found a video on YouTube. Shout out to, I can't remember his name, who he has a YouTube channel, and he's a whiz with the 4KG plugin and how he's using it. I sends out my apologies, but I forget your name, but I appreciate you, and this is the best way I can shout out to you. But anyway, so if you want to be able to control your transport inside of Studio One or whatever DAW you're using, I'm assuming, I just go over here inside of Studio One and I hit the control over here. It's a device, edit device, drop down. And then as you can see, I have the UCNet, the fader port 16, which I don't have. I can actually disconnect that. I sent that back. And then I have the control. Let me show you how I did that. Now, if I come over here, I can add a Huey Mackie instance. Oh, wrong one. So I can come over here and I can add a Huey extender or a control. I just went with control. And then let's just click it. I'm not going to do it. And then you just come over here and then you just hit SSL V MIDI port. I'm using one. For my end, it's going to say I'm already using it. So we're just going to say okay, because we're not going to keep it anyway. And then send to, you want to send to that port also. And then you would click OK. But we're not going to do that because mine is already done. So that's how you set up the transport. And then as soon as you do that, this is going to light up over here in your SSL software. And then you can control Studio. You don't even have to leave this screen. You are essentially mixing on an SSL console. You don't even have to leave the screen. You can hit your play, you can hit your rewind, you can hit your stop, you can hit your, well, I don't know about using record. I don't know how you would use record here. Let me go down here and pull up the tracks. Let me see. I guess maybe you can arm your record from here maybe, but I don't know. I'm not using that function. So if you want to use your record button up here, you may have to do some research on that one yourself to figure out how to arm your DAW tracks from inside of the 360 software. I'm not doing that, but you're free to look it up yourself and figure out how to do it. And then if you find out how to do that, send me a link or send me a message telling me or directing me to your video so I can see how you linked your record button to your tracks inside of your DAW without leaving the SSL 360 software. All right, YouTube, that's all I wanted to show you. Like I said, it was going to be a quick video showing you another technique to routing your audio out of your DAW through the SSL's 360 software through your mixing console. Again, like I say, I'm not using any of the FAT channel at all with any processing on this Studio Live board at all, with the exception of the main. I might do some processing on that channel if I need to. Let's say if I need to do some tweaks or whatever, I can pull up the EQ if I need to work on some signals. But anyway, give that a try if you have one of these laying around. And again, you're essentially turning your setup into a genuine solid state Logic 4KG mixing console. All right, YouTube, peace. If you have any comments, please leave them. Because I read all of my comments, you don't have to subscribe. I would never tell you to do that. You got a mind of your own. You grown. But if you want to send me a message, I respond to all of my messages. All right. Peace. Again, Ron Birdsongs, Earsore Records Studios, Milwaukee.